Welcome back to the NFT Talks podcast. I'm here with another amazing guest. We've been trying to get this episode done for a while now, and we're finally here, Bryson. So Bryson is one of the co-founders from Hodooi.com, which is a multi-chain NFT marketplace from the UK. Like I said, I'm always hailing up people from the UK and saying, yes, local lads. So I'm happy to have you on. How you doing, mate?
No, awesome. Thanks for having me, Sean. I'm doing very, very well. All good.
Okay, so before we get into it and going into what obviously the platform does and whatnot, like I said at the start of the podcast, always like to get a bit of background of the individuals that are doing things within the space. How do you even get into the NFT space? Which is the question that a lot of people ask: is how do you even end up here? Have you got a background in crypto, or is it just something that fell on your lap?
No, it's a great question. So there's myself, and there's also Matt Lachinsky, who founded Hodooi. So we founded Hodooi. The idea really started in, we could say, October 2020. So my background isn't as much in crypto. I've been in crypto for a few years, but not massively, not from a project point of view. But Matt actually founded a company called Travala.com back in 2017. So we actually studied together at uni. And then in 2020, we came together and we started exploring the NFT space. It was a very, very niche space at the time. Obviously in 2021, that's when it really blew up. And we got together, we kind of looked at all the NFT marketplaces and we kind of thought, there's a gap here. And really from October time, like I said, that's when we started building it, and then we launched the platform in July of 2021.
Okay, so it's fresh, it's new. I mean, but I know you've been quite active because I've seen it. I've seen the platform beforehand popping up, and you've done some quite big drops with some big names and whatnot, which we'll go into. But just going back a little bit, back to obviously Matt, who's one of the co-founders of the company. The company that he had is a travel company that was blockchain based, if we stand correctly, a travel company that was on the blockchain. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's basically like Booking.com, but you can pay with cryptocurrency. So they've got their own token, but you can also pay with. I'm not too sure how many crypto payments there are, but there's a lot. There's over 50 to 100, I believe, and that's flights, cruises, hotels, pretty much everything. In the travel space you can pay with crypto. So he actually founded that. And he was the CEO of that, I believe, up until last year. The year before last now, yeah. And he founded that in 2017, so he would have been 22 then. So, yeah.
Young lads. doing a lot of things in the crypto space at a young age. So, okay, so did he kind of introduce that to yourself, or was it the case that you were looking into crypto at the time and blockchain technology, and how did you even... Like, obviously you went uni together, but is this something you kept in contact, you always been looking to do, or did you just kind of connect at the right time, right place?
We always stayed in contact. Even at uni, we did a lot of little business activities together. We did a lot of competitions, and then out of uni, I went down one path for the time being, he went down another, and we always came together. We was always very, very interested in the crypto space and also blockchain. And then we spoke. And like I said, we came up with this concept, this idea. We got the name, the brand. We started scaling it, and then it got to the point of it was like, right, okay, this is actually happening now. So we did our raise. We can go into more detail on that later on, but yeah, and that's essentially how it was born, I guess. Hodooi.com. Yeah.
Where does the name come from? I mean, that's the question. The spelling, the name, Hodooi.
That is a great question. So, obviously, again, we could say the back end of last year, a lot of people were very, very unsure of what an NFT was. I think right now, from my point of view anyway, it's a lot more familiar. A lot more people understand it as well. But it was essentially how do we make an NFT? It's how do we, but then we looked at the spelling of it, and what's the best way to, you could say, brand it, market it. And we just thought the concept of the HOOOOI.com was definitely the best way to go.
Okay, so it's something as simple as that. How do we? Is it because I was always even asking you up to these points, thinking, how do you pronounce it? Does that but branding wise, visually it looks good. But I mean, people have trouble in regards to?
Yes, yeah, 100%. And something that we didn't really think too much of was obviously different languages and the way, you know, different cultures speak and whatnot. And some really do not know how to say it properly. But it is quite, it's an engager, especially on social media. A lot of people are, you know, asking how to say it. And when we do our Twitter spaces or like our Telegram community calls, when we say it, it gets people talking like, oh, now I know how to say howdoi.com. And it's a good engager for the community for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely something memorable. It stuck with me regardless. I mean, when the first time I seen it, I didn't know how to say it, but it stuck with me because I think is it who do we like something? So yeah, if the marketing skills have worked somehow, so it's stuck with us. But let's go into it, man. Like you guys obviously are doing a lot of amazing things at this point in time, which we're going to go into. You've got massive backing, obviously from crypto.com. So let's talk about the marketplace and what would you say separates you differently from other marketplaces? And you answer that first, and then I'm gonna ask you the next question because I feel like people may be asking that question. But answer that one first. Go on.
Yeah. So again, it's a great question. The first thing is a few of the marketplaces are starting to adopt it, but we are going down the multi-chain route. So what I mean by that is we've launched on Binance Smart Chain, and we're currently exploring in what chain to go to next. Obviously, you've got ETH, which is, you know, the mother of NFTs, you could say, and then also Sol right now, and also the Crypto.com chain. They're three that we are exploring. It will be a case of over this year we're aiming to add more and more chains to allow users to come onto howdoi.com and essentially mint their NFTs on specific chains, or bring their NFTs from other platforms and list them on Howdoi on that specific chain. Now, I guess that's one factor. Another one is we are going to create a membership program. What we'll do with the membership program is we will offer a set amount of tiers. What the user will have to do is our native cryptocurrency, the HOD token, the user will have to stake and lock away a specific amount of the HOD token. When they do that, they will also get a staking reward, but they will also get a percentage off of the fees on howdoi.com. So the tier one membership program level will actually allow the user to get 100% off of fees just by staking HOD in the platform. So I guess in terms of, you know, USPs, what our real differentiating factor is, I'd say it's that one. And from a user's point of view, with some of the crazy figures that NFTs are selling for today, if there's the opportunity for somebody to get 0% fees, then from my point of view as a user, it's a real attraction. So there's a few things of what you've mentioned. So you answered the question that I was going to ask about the multi-chain. I want you to kind of like, if you can, it's just to clarify what that is so basically your NFT marketplace, whereas offering interoperability between different blockchains. So if you've minted an NFT on Ethereum, but you've also minted NFTs on Solana, you're still able to trade through Howdoi. Is that right? That is right, but you will be specific to your chain. So for example, right now it's on Binance Smart Chain. You will be able to mint on Binance Smart Chain, but for example, you couldn't, you know, use your Ethereum wallet to purchase that. It has to be through the Binance Smart Chain route. Now with the Ethereum route, again, you can mint on the Ethereum chain, but you have to be through that route. It's something that we cannot create the bridge as of right now, but we want to offer the user as many chains as possible, you know, mainly to explore them. And also there seems to be a lot of different communities across different chains right now. And if we can offer the user any route they want or any chain, then, you know, it could essentially become the one-stop shop for users to come create, buy, sell, and even resell NFTs.
Okay, yeah. So basically, you're saying that it's any you can mint from any blockchain, but that you are working with, and you can showcase it on your platform. So it's not particularly you can interlink. It's not like a Polkadot that is encouraging like interoperability between the chains, but it's more so just being able to showcase and sell your NFTs on there. Okay, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, and cool. So going back to which you talked about, obviously the tiers, which was really interesting. I wanted to. So how does that actually work? Is it is it it's tokenomics obviously, but is it NFTs that allows them to have these tiers? Is it actual NFTs you give to the users?
No. So our team will develop the software, the smart contracts, you could say, to create this staking program, which will link directly to the user. And then depending on, again, how much they stake within the platform would determine their fee rate. And I guess in simple terms, that's how it will work. The user will have to stake the HOD token within the platform in a vault, you could say. You can see these different staking programs with different vaults, and then they will get an APY on that. They will get a return on their investment, which they stake into the platform, but they'll also get this reduction on fees.
Okay, so it's good to see. It's good because a lot of obviously everyone's looking for different ways, different platforms are looking for different ways to attract obviously all the users. Obviously, you guys have gone down that route. Obviously, OpenSea probably obviously one of the main marketplaces. You've got that obviously. Recently, you had Looks Rare that they come with their kind of incentive to get people over by giving them tokens. Have you got anything else? So what kind of things how do you think the market's going to be in the next marketplaces is going to be in the next few years? Because obviously more and more marketplaces are popping up. Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
For me, I think it's quite a good thing. Obviously, for the different marketplaces, some might not see it that way. But when I've spoken to users and if there is a good NFT marketplace, an NFT creator or buyer or seller, they like to explore different marketplaces. Obviously, some are very, you could say, dedicated to their platform or to an NFT marketplace that they like. But a lot of artists and creators that I've spoken to, they love to explore. And if you have an efficient and a marketplace that works and that is user friendly, then why would a user not want to explore your marketplace? All they've got to do is connect their wallet, and then they can go straight into it. So
have you guys focused on like say an industry or a type of NFT? Beginning, so obviously you're more focused on the PFPs, or is it art driven, or are you looking at the music, the digital fashion? Like what route have you gone down, or is just like literally whatever comes up, whatever is in trend?
It's very much for us. We're trying to attract every type of user. We don't want to be specific within a niche, you could say. A lot of people have actually thought that we are trying to bring in high profile sports names, because obviously, like we mentioned, we did the Tyson Fury drop, we did Shannon Briggs and Chris Cyborg. And obviously, they are all related to the combat sports. But again, that's not the case. We are trying to bring in as many users as we can. Some of the best work that we can. We've been working closely with some very, very, very talented artists across, you could say there's the high volume collectibles approach, or there's people that we're speaking to now within music NFTs. And it's a scope that we aren't really trying to limit anything to.
Okay, but it's funny you say that, but obviously because your recent marketing campaign, you've gone to obviously Galatasaray Sports and the masses. So obviously you're saying that isn't your route, but it's kind of like you can't wrong anyone for thinking maybe because that was my question. I'm thinking, okay, what are you guys doing in sports? Because obviously based on what you've done already and where you're advertising, obviously Hodooi, the marketplace to a mass audience in the football stadiums, is that not the obvious route for you guys?
I don't want to say too much on the marketing campaign that we're doing now. There's a lot of things coming with that for sure. But basically, something that we are doing with that is we're really trying to target different demographics. So you would have seen the Galatasaray that we did. That was the first campaign that we did on Christmas Day. And then we did the Turkish Super Cup final, which was in Qatar. Now, I can say we're in talks with, multiple high profile clubs in different countries right now to try and finalize some deals. And once they are finalized, this will allow the HOD token and howdoi.com to break into these demographics. And I'm talking, we're speaking with Japanese football club, Australian, obviously the Premier League. I'm not too sure who you support, Sean, but
can you guess? Look at my face. Can you guess how I'm feeling at the moment?
But no, it's something that we think is essential, mainly from an NFT point of view, because a lot of these clubs now and also players are really breaking into the NFT market. Across social media now, you've got clubs doing team NFTs, also fan tokens, and obviously the independent players are either sharing projects on their social media or they're doing own drops themselves. And I guess quite a lot of the fans might be thinking, okay, what are these NFTs? Where are they? And when they've got howdoi.com in front of them, that might be a key factor for them to try and explore it. So
yeah, that makes sense. And as you pointed out, like obviously since we're on sports and we're on football, like obviously the first introduction to like football and NFTs that I seen was it was So Rare. So the French company with the fan. So have you come across them guys?
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously they got the license. So it's interesting to see how can they get licenses to do NFTs for clubs, but then once is it not work the same way in the NFT space? Like once you've got a contract with the club, are they still able to produce NFTs with other people?
I think it very much depends on the exclusivity that they agree on. I've come across, some people sign exclusive deals and some don't, and that's what really limits specific high-profile names to have the ability to do drops with other people or to not be able to do it. For example.
Yeah, I think it's going to be it may be overwhelming for fans, because I think, like you said, it's going to have the clubs doing NFTs, then you're going to have the brands doing NFTs maybe for that club, then you're going to have the players doing NFTs, and then like it's when's it going to stop? Like I think it's a good thing, but it's also like it can be overwhelming if people don't understand what it is.
No, exactly, and it's very much. I think that's why. And you're seeing it on most NFT marketplaces now, and it's something that we will be integrating this year. It's credit and debit payments on NFT marketplaces.
Okay.
That ability for a user who isn't, confident or has the ability to, one, buy cryptocurrency, or even two, understand how to use a MetaMask wallet, for example, and that really provides that use of access to NFT marketplaces. And for me, and I think most of my team will agree, it's really a key factor as to how a lot of these NFT marketplaces can grow. Having that ability for users and having that access for them to just put in their card details and it's done.
Yeah, I think that's an important factor, is helping people be able to, making it a lot easier for people to use. Second thing I would say is going to be the onboarding process, which I've seen you guys are obviously looking on, is like education tutorials of how to do things. And then also is when you're working with these big IP names, is making them understand it's not make sure they're not there just for the cash, and understanding like how are you going to create an NFT? Is it going to be valuable for your current audience? Because at the end of the day, this is what I had a conversation about celebrities entering the space, and people, or whether the agencies or individuals doing NFTs for these guys, and they're playing with the brand, their IP. And if that goes wrong, that can ruin them in the future, the way I see it. Is so it's I think celebrities, big IPs, have got to be cautious of who they work with, making sure that people are connected within the community, make sure they're doing the right thing and they're taking the right approach to produce NFTs for themselves. I mean, is that what you guys are doing?
Yes, yeah, it's a great point, Sean. Like if a high profile name doesn't, well, one, provide an efficient, utility, you could even say, for their NFTs, then it could really damage their reputation, especially across the crypto space and the NFT space. Like if they wanted to do another drop, then who's going to want to get involved? And we've seen some pretty cool stuff with the Tyson Fury drop that we did. That was the first. Well, when we launched in July, we did the Tyson Fury drop, and his one of one sold for just under $1 million. And with the NFT, that came with a 5 foot by 5 foot painting, which was a one of one, obviously, and it actually had a thank you written statement on it from Tyson himself to the user, and it also came with a FaceTime session with Tyson and some time boxing gloves. So it's like, you know, that utility that you can provide. Don't get me wrong, that's great, and to be honest, I've seen some other projects, high profile names, you could say, release some even cooler utility. For example, I know that Sam Mitchell with his drops, so the old NBA player turned coach, and now he's a commentator. He's including a golf day on his NFT drop for his. So, for example, his most rare NFT, if there's 100 of them, one of them NFT holders will get a golf day, and he's also the commentator, I believe, for NBA TV. So it's similar to, you could say, Sky Sports, and that they will get to go there for the day with them, spend the day there, go around the offices, you know, meet everyone, and it's that utility that people look out for, you know, having that opportunity, and then obviously with the art as well, it's the established artists, and for me as a collector as well as, you know, a somebody who has created a marketplace, it's always about the community for me, and also, you know, the visual of the artwork. So.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. Did you see the Mayweather drop, the Mayweather NFT?
Yeah, didn't he do 2 drops? He did one, which was the
he did the PFP one, which was the second one. Yeah. He did like he collaborated with the guys from Balls on the Block, and the first one he done was like almost like pretty much like what you just said. He's like I think he would. There was different, because if he went for, he said if it goes for like $1,000, you get this. If it goes for $500,000, you get this. If it goes for $1 million, you get this kind of thing. So he based it on a tier base on the auction side, and I think the most he was offering like a night out or weekend in Vegas with Floyd, and you'd be able to have food with him and whatnot. And I think a painting came with it too, an exclusive painting and whatnot. But his didn't do so well. He didn't go for that amount. So what do you think? What is okay? Obviously, he's as famous as Tyson Fury. He's obviously got the fan base. Yeah. What kind of thing is potentially what you think he could have done wrong?
Obviously, the biggest thing, well, from my point of view, is, you could say, for a one-off collection, is the marketing with it. Something that we do pride ourselves with within howdoi.com is our marketing. We've got an excellent team, and myself and Matt as well. You know, we've got a strong background in marketing products, whether it's crypto related or not. And Tyson was very, very, very supportive. He pushed it on the socials completely. We was able to do a lot of cool stuff with him. So I think that's one of the biggest things. Also, if it's community driven, trying to get everyone involved with it, build the you could say build the support from the community, and try and get people talking about it. And that's what we did. We was able to do that. I'm obviously not too sure who actually did the Mayweather one, where it was sold, or who was behind it. You could say, you know, did he have a dedicated team behind it?
He had some credible people. I would say he had some credible people in the space. It was on Clubhouse at the time when they did the drop, and he had people that are still credible in the space. Now, I'm just trying to understand, based on obviously the success of the Tyson Fury one, to what was done different, and maybe it was down to marketing. Maybe did Tyson? I'll ask you a question: did Tyson actually understand what an NFT was? And if he made videos, did he? I'm not trying to catch you off. The reason I'm asking this is because when I seen Floyd make videos about the NFT, at the time it's kind of like, you don't know. I don't think you know what you're doing. Obviously, you're being told to do this. And maybe that was the backlash of him not being fully committed into the space. It's more like it looked like a cash grab. Now, I'm not sure what Tyson Fury's approach was, or what did he come out and say he knew what it was, or he was just like, I'm just doing and work with a team?
I'd say it's like most people, you know, at the start you're quite unsure. But it was, by the end of the whole process, you could say he understood, the concept, the utility, how they work, and since then he's actually gone on to do other drops. He did a drop in the summer. I'm not too sure where that was, on another marketplace. For his Wilder fight, he did a drop on Wearable. I'm not too sure if you saw that. He did a fight night NFT. And then in December, he actually did an NFT drop with Binance. He did a mystery box drop, which sold out. So he's been very active in the space for sure. So,
all right. So going back to you guys and what you guys are doing on the platform. Obviously, I've seen you release your roadmap for obviously this year, 2022. You talked about being able to withdraw NFTs to obviously your MetaMask wallet. Tell me why, and why would somebody want to do that? Yeah.
Again, great question, Sean. So basically, when we built Hodooi, we built it more on a centralized system. Now, over time, and after taking comments from the community, we understand that, okay, we need to make this fully decentralized to allow users to, take their NFTs where they want, to allow users to bring them into the platform as well. So right now we have V1 of Hodooi.com, okay, where users have to come to the platform, they have to sign in, and they have to actually send cryptocurrency from their wallet to their Hodooi.com wallet. Now, over the next, we could hopefully the next 6 weeks, what we're going to do is we're going to include a withdraw feature for V1, and then we are going to introduce V2 as well. So V2 will be brand new UI and UX. It's going to be a platform where users can either sign in or they can connect their MetaMask wallet. It's going to be a brand new platform for us, and it's going to bring a new approach, we could say, with the community. We're very, very happy with it. It's in the final touches now, and for us, going from this centralized system to the decentralized concept, long-term vision, and I think the way that the NFT you could say the NFT community is going, it's 100% the best approach for us. And it's something that our community personally has been asking for a while. So for us to be able to give it to them it's perfect.
Well, obviously that's good that you've obviously taken feedback on board and changing, and obviously admitting to saying it was kind of centralized and then changing it to be more decentralized to where obviously the community is going, which is good. Because there's no, I mean, I've seen that on a few platforms where you kind of have to, you kind of trapped within that, like you can't take anything anywhere. And obviously you want that kind of freedom, because that's the whole point of things being decentralized. So I think that's a good point. Is there anything else that you're doing to make it more decentralized, or things you got in place that you feel that's going to improve based on feedback from the community?
Yeah, so it's upon V2 launch, these are features that will not be available immediately, but it's stuff that we are working on right now. And it's, for example, gifting NFTs, that's something that we want to do. Also reward systems. So basically what I mean by that is, we're going to provide reward systems. We're still working on the exact figures, you could say, but for example, NFT rewards and also HOD rewards for specific users on the platform. And again, something that's quite simple, but it's something that users, from my experience anyway, they really enjoy, and that's the top sellers, top creators, the people on the platform that really have them top level collections and their projects specifically. And that's something that right now we don't provide, unfortunately, but it's something that we are building as well. So I personally think for Hodooi.com, 2022 is going to be a huge year, what we have in place, especially for the platform and also for the token.
Okay. Tell me a bit more about the token then, and the use cases of that. You mentioned it obviously with the staking beforehand and what you get with that. But what else?
So we've got the HOD token that launched in June last year. So since then we're listed on 8 exchanges now. So the main one being crypto.com. We've got MXC, Gate.io, AscendX, and then a few other exchanges as well. Now, the biggest use case for HOD is you can buy NFTs on the platform with the HOD token. That's probably one of the biggest use cases for it. It's definitely not going to be the only use case for it. Now, like I said, the membership program, we're exploring that. We actually launched V1 of our staking program in October, November last year. Now we got, I believe it was just over $2 million worth of HOD locked within that. That has now ended. That's finished. We did that as our first version for the community. Everyone loved it. There was a lot of HOD token locked in there. And some of the things that we're going to explore, like I said, is the rewards. The HOD token will provide users the chance to get a reduction on fee rates up to 0%.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's from the platform point of view. That's the main use cases really.
Oh, because I was going to say, yeah, because obviously with you introducing the withdrawal, then that will be taking away the use case for the HOD token. Does that make sense? Is that right to say that?
What do you mean? Sorry, Sean.
If people don't need to use the Hodooi wallet in order to buy NFTs, and they can use a MetaMask, then they should be able to buy NFTs with Ethereum, or is that right?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Then
there is a use case of buying with the HOD token on the marketplace.
So right now on Hodooi, users can buy their NFTs with USDT, so BEP20 USDT, BNB, or the HOD token.
Okay. Cool.
Obviously, within the smart contract, it's all configured to the correct prices at the time of transaction. But it's one of the three methods. With it being Binance Smart Chain, you obviously need some BNB to cover the gas fee. But I think the best thing about Binance Smart Chain is the gas fees. They're extremely, extremely low. And with the HOD token, users can confirm the transaction on the NFT marketplace with that.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing at the moment. Obviously, it's always been a big from the start, isn't it? The gas fees and
yeah, for sure,
keeping it low, and the entry point for the mass. Because if we're going to start advertising it to everybody, the masses and whatnot, not everyone's going to have the same finances to kind of pay $100 gas fees for buying something for $50. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. So, especially, and another thing is too, when we have like these big celebrities, I think the price point, there's got to be different price points. Obviously, if it's a one of one, obviously sell it for more. If it's something that is more affordable for people that can lower it, you want to have low gas fees too, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a big factor that we are exploring for what chain to introduce next. I'd say the feedback from our community is, people really, really like the low gas fees, and you can't blame users. You can't blame users. Exactly. So, for my own personal experience, I'm really enjoying the Sol chain at the minute. I'm really enjoying Sol NFTs, and I think that's something that I'm really trying to get integrated into the platform for sure.
Okay, what about like things like Tezos, Near Protocol, things like that?
Yeah, I guess there's obviously more and more change being introduced. I'd say from my own personal experience, Binance Smart Chain, ETH, and Sol are like my three main chains that I've used for NFT transactions, whether it's buying and selling. I'm not a massive creator myself, but I'm definitely one that loves the space for sure.
What about Polygon though?
Yeah. Also Polygon. Polygon's good. And I think as well, I mentioned it earlier, the crypto.com. Obviously crypto.com has really been just blowing up massively with what they're doing. And that's from everything. And I think from our point of view, we're very fortunate that, they are our lead investor, crypto.com Capital, and the support that they've given us. We are doing a bridge with the Kronos chain for the HOD token, and there's some more news coming out about that soon. But it's definitely going to be interesting if we was to integrate the crypto.com chain for sure.
Right. So mention about yourself being in the NFT space. Are you collecting? You said you don't create, but do you collect it? Anything like PFPs?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What have you enjoyed so far? I mean, What have you collected? Who would you say has been your most favorite NFT you've collected so far?
So I
What?
think my most recent two, so you
Yeah,
could say my most recent ones, so these were within the last week.
yeah.
So for Hodooi.com, we actually partnered with a company called the NFT Agency. They dropped a few NFTs with high profile names. Sorry, you could say well established names on Hodooi.com.
Mhm.
And we've stayed in very close contact with them. One of their artists created the laid back llamas. I'm not too sure if you saw them. So they got minted on OpenSea, and they're a really, really cool collection. I've found one that I will be getting, maybe within the next day or two.
Okay.
So that's the first one on the Ethereum chain, and then the next one is on the Sol. So I got some of the Solana Doodle apes. So they are like a pretty cool little project.
The Doodle apes. The Doodle apes.
Yeah,
So so what I find with Sol is that what they tend to do is like if you see whatever's done in Ethereum, they go, we're going to do our version kind of thing. How does it hold value? Why does it hold value if it's clearly almost like a replica or pretty much the same thing?
It is very similar. For me, it's the biggest thing was when I saw the project and I checked out the community in Discord. There was just so much energy there. It was just completely popping off. And like I said at the start, for me, that's a big factor. I love to engage with the communities, get speaking to them, see what their interests are. And for some projects, you see everyone's just always shouting about the floor price. For this, I did not get that experience at all. So it was very enjoyable for me just to get in there to talk to them. And some of them were interested about Hodooi as well. So, it was a great chance to share the message of, okay, why don't you check out Hodooi.com as well?
So Hodooi going to be dropping the PFP projects anytime soon?
Maybe. I'd say there's been a few on Hodooi which have been pretty awesome. The Decentralions, so that's a project which dropped probably during our first few months. They've been dropping consistent NFTs on Hodooi. Obviously, it's a set of lions in the concept, but they're awesome, very, very good. And also the New Face Tigers Club. So they drop NFTs across multiple marketplaces. Obviously, promote them all at once, but I'd say them two collections. For anyone watching now, if you go onto Hodooi, check them out because they are pretty cool.
You're partnering with another PFP project. Is it Meta Guardians?
Yes, yeah. So that's actually quite recent. That was we announced that within the last few weeks. So we partnered with Meta Guardians. There's currently a project ongoing to win some HOD and a villain from the Meta Guardians.
Okay.
I guess for those that don't know, the biggest concept here is one, Meta Guardians will be selling their NFTs on Hodooi when we integrate the Ethereum chain. Obviously for them, that's a big factor. And the second thing is we're actually going to make some pretty cool hero and villain Hodooi NFTs with Meta.
Okay. Perfectly lined up that was. I could see that's where you guys are going.
Yeah. So I think, for us, it's not really something that we're trying to do to get people talking about it. It's more for our community. If we can say, look, guys, we've got these now, go and collect your Hodooi.com heroes and villains. And so far that everyone's been loving it, loving the concept, loving the idea, and also being able to explore the HOD token and the Hodooi brand on different platforms and within different communities.
So that you're at the early stages, everything's at the early stages, there's still a lot to happen. What do you plan to enter, as we call it, we're talking about the buzzword, the metaverse? What kind of things have you got planned for that, or is these things you're thinking about? Have you bought lands in any of the
I've not personally. I've had a few friends in the space that have, but for us at Hodooi.com right now, it's our core and key focus is on making sure that we follow through with what we've said to the community, about building out the features that we want to do. Don't get me wrong, exploring the metaverse will be amazing. There are some NFTs right now on the platform that will be operable for the metaverse. I believe someone minted some to do with Fortnite, if I believe correctly. So it's, there's no reason why we shouldn't explore it or why we won't this year. But for right now, what we've set out to achieve in that Q1 roadmap, for us, that's the core focus. There's a lot more coming though, in the quarters following that.
So what excites you the most out of everything going on at this point, or what are you for this year? Is there anything that you're excited about, whether it's a new industry coming into, like whether it's digital fashion, music, NFT gaming? Is there what is it something out there like you think, look, I can't wait for this to happen? Or
I'm very excited to see what happens with the metaverse this year. I think there's going to be something that just goes to the next level. I don't know if a big corporation will adopt it or something will happen, but I think the metaverse will be a big player this year, especially in the NFT space. I also think, from my point of view, what I'm most excited for, it's definitely V2 of the platform, showcasing that to everybody, and that's obviously very, very soon. So it's going to be a good few months, but definitely just seeing what happens in the space, seeing how the adoption of NFTs carries on. And what I mean by that is, in my head, I believe ticketing systems will be a big factor in the NFT space, and I'm looking forward to seeing that get adopted in a mainstream way. So what I mean by that is, for example, will or when will the Premier League start doing that? Will they trial it? Is it something that they're having conversations about already? Will there be sporting events, for example, the World Cup this year? Would they even think about trying it? And it's these ideas that I think, if it doesn't happen this year, it will happen very soon. And I can't wait until it happens.
No, I think ticketing it's just one of the things that makes sense. Yeah. It's a better way, a safer way of doing things. You can do it's a way you can keep track of people that actually attended events, and then you can reward them later on down the line. One thing I really like is POAPs. I think I see Charlie Cohen tweet the other day about POAPs is a new selfie. He's like to prove you've been there, and and I think that's a perfect analogy of what it is. It is, because I feel like once I've got the POAP and it's in my wallet, I could get things better like that later on down the line. I think going to football matches or any sporting event, potentially going to finals, and if you were there at that final, you get an exclusive access to this next match, or potentially a whitelist to get tickets at this match and whatnot, which I think is will be real interesting.
100%, and that's literally one of the many use cases that they could adopt for this.
Yeah,
it's they could do so much if they was to create this consistent approach to NFT and tickets. And I do know that some football clubs did start it. I can't remember the first part of the name, but the Moscow team, I believe last season they did like 25% of their tickets were NFTs.
Yeah, I did see.
Yeah.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think West Ham were working with an agency. It starts at Yellow something they're called. I can't remember. I'm sure it was West Ham. But I'm not sure what they were doing. They were just talks of they're going to do something around NFTs and whatnot. So it'd be interesting to see what everyone's doing, because I think that's where things will get real exciting. Is I think Man City they dropped an NFT, didn't they, for winning the Premier League? Yeah. So it's out there. The Olympics they did NFTs, but it's very under the radar. And I think it's this. I was talking about this once again. Talking about this to somebody else, is about introducing DAOs to football clubs, because everyone always claims they hate the manager and the club owners are doing this with the club. Let's imagine if there was a club and it was a DAO, and the fans own the club literally, and they could make the decisions with votes and whatnot. That would be crazy.
Well, I guess that's why. Well, hopefully some of these clubs, when they introduce their fan tokens, how much utility will they provide to their fans? What will they give their fans the chance to either decide to do? I've seen some clubs. I'm not too sure exactly who it was, but someone in the Premier League it was if you own, a certain amount of their fan token, you can decide what songs played before the match the following week. But then it's, why would somebody want to hold so much of the token just to decide for that? So it's this, again, it goes back to what we said before. It's the utility of the NFT, the fan token, whatever it is, and how will that benefit, or what will it provide to the user?
Yeah. I think that's important. I feel like one thing, like big brands, whether they're clubs or not, they just really need to not look at it from the money aspect, to just looking where they can provide more value to their fans, and then everything else will come. I mean, that's because it will make sense. As I'm sure I'm a fan of football and whatnot. And I'm a Man United fan, by the way. So if they offered anything valuable that I deem valuable, then I'll definitely be interested. You know what I mean? So I think clubs need to either learn. I think they're not going to take the time to learn themselves, but be around the right people to kind of guide them to make the right decisions. So it's good that it's like people like yourself in this space, not only doing things on an NFT marketplace perspective, but you've also invested. You're part of the community. You're doing things. You understand crypto. You're taking on feedback, which I think is the most important thing for any brand or company to enter space. Okay, then you're not always going to get things right straight away, but if you're making changes based on what your community says, then that's amazing, because that doesn't happen in the real world.
Exactly.
So,
and I think, for us, that's our biggest thing. Taking the feedback, seeing what they want, and it's so far so good with it. So,
all right. So, what I like to again end it off with a question is, I want you to explain, and listen to what I'm saying now, because some people don't get this right. I want you to explain how a day will look or be from the morning, included like within the next 5 years with NFTs in your life. So you wake up in the morning. Mm-hmm. Explain how your day goes with NFTs involved, whether it's in the metaverse, whether it's in your room, to VR, AR, all these things.
Good question. I think it very much depends how involved the metaverse is.
How do you think your day is going to be, though? Not how. I don't want to answer how the world's going to be. How do you think your day is going to be, including it? I just want you to be creative and think. The reason I'm asking this is to kind of dig into your mind and think where NFTs will fit in your normal life, so people can kind of think, oh, I didn't think of NFTs could really cover this.
I definitely think for me it would be get up and go out first. I'd like get up, get that bit of fresh air first, and then come back. And I'd love for my team to be in the metaverse for a meeting. People say it, and I've seen some stuff saying it's not been successful, but I would love it. Imagine putting on your metaverse, goggles, glasses, whatever you call them, and then you get to pick what you've put on, and then you're in the meeting room with your team. You can make the meeting room whatever you want with different NFTs, depending on what platform you're using. For example, imagine if you could do it in a big football stadium, or it's really limitless as to what you can do. So I guess that's the first thing. I think the adoption of, crypto, it's not so much down that route. That would be the first thing. NFTs then for me would be still with the adoption of how we're doing it now. So I think by that point, we'll have a system where you can track the ownership of NFTs a lot easier. Mm-hmm. Because, you've seen certain people say it'll be amazing in 10 years time when you can see who owned, the very first CryptoPunk, for example.
Yeah.
It's a simplistic platform, I mean, very, very simple, not this, big website where you can look at it. And for me, that'd be very, very interesting to explore. So I guess that could be something that I use day to day. Now, how else could it be used? Again, ticketing systems. If I was to go, I'd love to see it being so mainstream. And what I mean by that is not just football, like we said, I'm talking to the cinema, getting in anywhere. Could you go into a supermarket and use NFTs, for example? Is there any way that it could be used that way? But obviously that's 5 years. I don't know if that's a little bit.
We'd be surprised. I think passports, like,
yes,
having an NFT as a passport, and then and where you go, you just kind of like gets time stamped like a POAP of where you've been and when you come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I've seen a lot of well, I've read a lot of other things about, not just passports, but you could be talking, driving license, birth certificates.
Yeah.
These documents that people are always like, even myself right now, I
Is
can
it-
say where my birth certificate is. So, it's very much these documentation, or this documentation that you need. And if it's an NFT, then it's even better. It's secure, where it is, and it's accessible. And I think for me, they're the three key factors that everybody likes, because it's so efficient and easy.
Yeah, I think where you're talking about the metaverse and going to meetings.
Yeah.
You think like PFPs are going to be like alter egos, because you've got all these celebrities buying all these apes.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, then the way I see playing that is, okay, then instead of the celebrity going and creating an avatar for themselves, they're going to go as their ape, whether they're performing, whether they're making an appearance in the metaverse. That's going to be their alter ego in the metaverse. And everyone's going to know it as, okay, that's the ape, but that's DJ Khaled's ape. So that's him in the metaverse. Is that going to work for? So if you take that kind of thought process, if you own 3 different NFTs, could you be 3 different people in the metaverse depending on who you turn up as?
I think, from my own personal opinion, I think with that approach, I can see like these PFPs, for example, if you own a Bored Ape. I saw that somebody bought some land next to Snoop Dogg. Now, that person in their piece of land, they would use their Bored Ape for actual art on the wall. Like, it would be there, they would show it off to whoever comes into their area. They'll be like, okay, look what I've got, and then they'll see that on the wall, for example. But then they'll have different NFTs for, you could say, what they're wearing, what they're doing, and it'll be something that would be more of like a Mona Lisa. It's something that you look at, that you really praise, rather than having it as yourself. But I don't know. I think it very much depends on what route they go down. How do they evolve the Bored Ape Yacht Club? Like, what path will they go down specifically?
I think the reason why I said that is based on behavior. And I mean, it's not only Bored Apes, but I just feel that people are going to express themselves, and they're not going to go into the metaverse and create a default character themselves if they've got these PFP projects that these PFP NFTs that they've paid for already. They're just going to go as that character because they own it. It's a form of expression, and I see it the same way as, like, obviously digital fashion. Now, I'll ask you the question: would you buy digital wearables?
Yeah,
you would. Okay, because because a lot of people think, why would I buy something like digital to wear in the metaverse? But I think that, just imagine if you had a meeting and you had a default character, and everybody was buying the uniform and the new energy default character. You wouldn't want to do that. And like you'd want to impress.
Exactly. I think it's obviously price dependent. Well, you don't know what's happening in the next 5 to 10 years. It really don't know. But for example, could Calvin Klein, again, complete example, bring out a clothing range within the NFT space for metaverse avatars?
100%. Like that's definitely going to happen. I think they're all doing it now to a certain extent. So,
but then it's what limit or what price? What do you start them prices off at? How accessible do you make them? Because of the mass adoption of what we're going to try and do. So what I mean by that is, if they're really going to try and make this as accessible and, like I said, then mass adoption, do they need to make it as accessible as possible and really give a cheaper, I guess, floor price with the NFTs that are available for the avatars themselves, not for other things?
I think the luxury brands or the bigger brands, their route winning.
They go through the roof, aren't
they? But I think their route is 20. You buy the physical, you get the digital. That's their route, and then that's their entry to the metaverse. So if you already wear it in the real world, they're going to say, well, you'd want to wear it in the metaverse too. And then, like, for example, Nike, it just makes sense to, if people that collect trainers, if they buy the physical trainer, they don't want to wear it because it devalues in the real world. So they don't wear the trainer, but they flex it in the metaverse. So they still show that they've got it. and it's, you only can get it if you've got the physical, and then you still can sell the physical later on down the line at that value because it's still in prestige condition. Yeah, so that's just an example that just makes sense to me, and I think that's going to work across the board, especially in the luxury brands. But then I think there's going to be a lot more brands created through the NFT community that are going to kind of pop up and start doing some real creative things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Completely agree, to be honest, Sean. Completely agree.
All right, then, well, I would say we're rounding up to the end. It's a pleasure having you on. Definitely like to get you on later on down the stage, because I know you've got a lot of things planned for in the future. So get you guys back on, and we can kind of catch, or maybe get Matt on too, so we can include in this one. Where can everyone find yourself if they want to contact, whether it's through Hodooi or you personally?
So we've got the Hodooi. The Hodooi Twitter is at Hodooi, so that's HODOOI. Also on Instagram, again, it's Hodooi.com, so it's HODOOI.com on Instagram. And then, my own personal Twitter is BRYSON Warsap, WARSAP, so Bryson Warsap. Please reach out there. The platform, www.hodooi.com. Like I said, V2 coming next month. It'd be awesome if people wanted to do some exclusive drops for that. Please reach out on either of the social medias that I just mentioned. And thank you for having me, Sean. It's been awesome to be on the NF Talks, and thank you again.
Thank you for coming on. Everyone stay listening and stay blessed.
Thank you.